Welcome into the Lounge, presented by DraftKings. I'm Ryan Mink, here with Garrett Downing, and we are excited to sit down with Ravens defensive tackle John Jenkins, who, by the way, for listeners out there and viewers, is one of the nicest dudes on the team. So thank you for agreeing to do this.
Appreciate it.
So one thing I heard about you is that you're really into cycling. So tell me about how that started for you.
Yeah, man. COVID, just like anywhere else during that time, man. Just getting outside and trying to prepare myself for the season, right? I had a few buddies, Jonathan Zeno, down in South Florida. My buddy Grant, who owns Bicycle Generation down in Deerfield. Just waking up in the morning, 5 in the morning, then getting on a bike, and everything else was history.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So in COVID, I got on the Peloton, but you're specifically outside, not an inside bike. You're actually doing it outside on the road.
Yeah. It was beautiful, man. Cause where I train at down in South Florida, I'm near A1A, right? So when you're waking up in the morning, it was one of those scenarios where it was like therapeutic for me. I'm waking up before anybody is on the road with these guys who are extremely successful in their own field. And we're riding alongside the beach, and then we'll get coffee, and then we'll ride back home, and then our day starts, and everybody just waking up, right? So we just got like 30 miles in, and everybody's now just waking up, and I just got a chance to see the beach and seen everything, and took a deep breath. So I didn't want to stay in the house.
That's cool. So it sounds like you've like plugged into the community, like you've made a lot of friends through biking and stuff.
Oh yeah. At one point, I just signed with the Bears in 2020, and I was riding the trails, getting acclimated to the trails over there. And I remember I was looking behind me, and I didn't see anybody. And then I'm probably say like a couple miles, into my ride, I look behind me. There's like 3 people behind me, and then I looked behind me again. There's like a whole line, and I didn't know at the time like that the term Peloton, right? So people was using me to save their energy.
They're drafting. That's what I would ride behind you.
Yeah. So and then after they got done using me, they keep going. So I'm like, man, forget that. I'm going to get on your tail, and that's how I made a lot of friends, right? So if you were if people who cycle, they know if you're staying on somebody's tail long enough, and then at some point in time you strike a conversation like, hey, what's up? How are you? This, that, and the third. And we're just knee deep in the conversation. Then we'll get coffee, and then we'll meet up and cycle together as a group. But yeah, man, it was cool.
What do they say when they realize that you're an NFL player?
You know what? The first thing they say, man, you're big on that bike, right? And then I'm like, yeah, the conversation lead to I'm just training for the next season. What season? And then I get into the whole NFL spill, right? Yeah. Sometimes I don't like to really come off and say I'm for the NFL, right? I just like to say I'm training or anything like that. And then when we get into it, they understand.
That's so cool.
I'm curious, like, the last bike question for you, then we'll talk a little football too. But like, what does a typical ride look like for you? And to your point, like, I don't know how many other D tackles in the NFL are into cycling, but like, it's a different mold. You break the mold in terms of being a guy that's into cycling. So like, what does a typical ride look like? And is it kind of a unique feeling knowing that like, you break the mold of what you would expect from a guy that's into cycling?
Well, the way it all depends on where you're at. Like, so like soon as football season is over with, right? And I get back to cycling, we call it saddle time, right? So it's mainly like you're just going on long, extensive miles at a low rate, right? Like a low speed, so you can get acclimated to being in the saddle and building up your heart rate, the zone 2, right? So you want to get in that zone 2 and just build up your stamina, your heart rate, and the cardiovascular. And then as you start putting time in that tier, and then the next tier is like, okay, well, we're going to start pushing it, right? So now you're trying to be able to push the speed and try to keep see how far you can get the same distance, but at a harsher, not a harsher, but a extreme intense, right, cardiovascular workout at the time. So you're just building it, and not a lot of tackle. Well, I guess a lot more football players got into it, right? That I know of down in South Florida because it's easier on the knees, right? Like we're just talking Ray Lewis.
I was gonna say Ray Lewis was one.
Yeah, and I was telling him, I said I used to see Ray all the time down by Deerfield Beach, like. Boca and all that on A1A, and guys, you'll see a lot of guys. Ed Reed cycles as well, right?
Okay.
Yeah, there's quite a few cyclists who are former football players that cycle down there. All right,
that's cool.
Can Ray just go out and do that? Or does he get bothered out there if he's riding? Because I feel like people will recognize Ray Lewis. You're like, wait, Ray Lewis is on his bike?
Yeah, well, you really don't know till you know, right? So it's like, okay, if somebody say, hey, Ray is cycling, then you're like, there's not a lot of big people that cycle that look like football players. And then it's also like, you're always on a go too,
yeah,
so you don't have that. Yeah, so yeah, and trust me, I've seen him several times. He's moving. Yeah.
Do you have to put on weight before the season? Because I would imagine you lose weight during the off season when you're biking more.
Oh man, through my career, I had the ebbs and flows. Like some teams want me here, some teams want me there. So it's like I try to find a weight where will make both parties happy, and then and long as I can continue on doing my job and not have to worry about tapping my helmet to get out the game. Yeah.
All right, so we'll talk some football. So big game coming up against the Houston Texans. Obviously it's been kind of a rougher, stretch here for the Ravens coming off a tough loss in Kansas City. Just what do you see from the mindset of this team and specifically of the defense right now?
Oh man, the mindset is that everybody is keeping the main thing. We have a lot of young guys, and and everybody knows that. But the fact of the matter is, these guys are hungry. They're looking at this as an opportunity to prove themselves, right? To earn their own self-respect and believe in themselves. So I appreciate that, right? You have no choice but to appreciate that when you see guys come in and pour their heart out in preparation. Mm-hmm. So I'm just happy. Mindset is the main thing.
Mm-hmm. I'm curious for you, like this is obviously your first season here in Baltimore, but you're a veteran, respected player who's been in this league a long time, seen a lot of football. So how do you approach it in terms of the leadership aspect of things? Are you kind of harping on certain things to guys? Like how do you approach that side of the game, knowing that you're a respected voice in this locker room?
Man, I appreciate that, man. It's tough to get a compliment like that, especially when you've been on a few other teams, right? But every situation is different, right? So I just approach the situation the same, just through my work ethic, right? And to prove that even though I'm a older player, right, and I still work just like the first year player work, right? Mm-hmm. So it shows them that man, is our term is OG working, man. I got to put that work in. I can't let OG beat me out or whatever the case is. But it also like to your terms of saying the respect factor, they're okay with talking to me because I've seen it, right? Mm-hmm. I've been in the league as long as I have, and I've seen a lot of things, or they will ask me if I've seen it so I can give them my opinion. Sometimes, that's all I can do is give them my opinion and my experiences of what I saw or what I've been through, and then they take it however they take it. But in order to set that foundation is me working and putting the work in, and they seeing me doing so, and the way how I carry myself, right? So I kind of went locker rooms over that way, mm-hmm. because hey, nobody want to listen to anybody who is arrogant, right? Or who feel like they know it all or whatever, or they feel like they're better. So that's how I take that approach.
Interesting.
Obviously, injuries on the defensive line right now. Unfortunately, Nnamdi and Broderick, going on IR. You're stepping into a starter's role, but this. Obviously, nothing new for you doing that. You were a full-time starter the past 2 years, playing more than half the snaps in Vegas. So do you feel like, even though that wasn't necessarily the role that you signed up for when you came here to Baltimore, that like, all right, you need me to do that, I'm more than ready for that?
Yeah, we just never know what happens, right? Yeah. Anything, we call it the any given Sunday factor, but it just when you build this, to go through these phases, OTAs, training camp, and you're getting a chance to know your players and you're building that brotherhood, right? So now it's to the point with me, it's like, I don't want to let them down, right? And I want to hold myself to a standard, right, that was already here and try to live up to the standards that the Ravens, the Raven standard, playing like a Raven and being a player that's respected and just holding that torch. So I don't want to let these guys down. I want to try to be somewhat of a light if I can, if they see it that way. Mm-hmm. So that's just where I'm at with everything. Yeah, I don't know what happens, but just
I'm curious. Like, look, when you played in the league as long as you have, you see guys get hurt. Guys get hurt, all the time. And this year, Ryan mentioned Nambi going down, like just is tough, personally, professionally, to see a guy go down with that serious of an injury. How do you handle that, with a guy who's one of the best players on this team, but just dealing with a really tough situation from his standpoint? Like, how do you as a player kind of process that while also knowing it's next man up and there's another opportunity? Like, how do you process all of that?
It's tough, but we're groomed to turn the next page. Just think about it. When somebody get hurt in a game, they don't just say the game is over with, right? They just, hey, listen, the medical staff come in and then they try to do their best to accommodate the player who's going through that situation at the time and then just move on. We just try to, be there for the player, right? And be his crutch, whoever, because it's our brother, and it's tough to see that, especially, a player like him, a leader like him, right? And the work that I was able to see him put in a short matter of time, but I heard a lot about him from, Robert Leonard was here, right? Mm-hmm. D-line coach who was with the Raiders, and him and I, we have a great relationship, and he spoke highly of him, beforehand. So to come here and see it with my own two eyes, and this unfortunate thing happened, but, God has a plan, so we all praying for him, and that's why it's even more, precedent for us to go out there and really, be accountable to one another and work hard.
Yeah. Travis Jones is another guy on that line with you, getting healthier now, missed this past game, hopefully getting back to himself. Yeah. I didn't realize you and Travis, both Connecticut guys.
I was about to say that. It was crazy. When I went back home to Meriden, and I was inducted into Meriden Hall of Fame, and one of my high school coaches, Fierro Joe, right? He coached Trav back in high school.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, so it's crazy, right? But we have another Connecticut person, CJ. The receiver that just came in.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Yeah, so crazy.
Nice. That's awesome. I didn't. You're like grew up half an hour apart from each other.
Yeah.
You and Travis.
Yeah.
And I looked this up. There's actually only 8 current NFL players that hail from Connecticut. So we got 2 of them in the same position group. 2 of 8.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
So who are wow?
I don't have the whole list.
How deep is this research? Put him on spot.
I know the Broncos guy, that their defensive lineman who's really good. What's his name? Allen.
Okay.
Zach Allen. He's also from Connecticut.
Yeah.
I'll get you the list.
We'll talk about this over lunch.
You can really connect to the other Connecticut guys.
Yeah.
I also learned that it's called the Nutmeg State.
Yeah,
didn't know that.
Yeah,
Connecticut facts here.
Yep. There you go. The tri-state area, man.
That's great.
What do you think? I'm just curious. Like, what are your thoughts about Travis? A very talented guy, a veteran like yourself. Like, when you look at him, what stands out to you about Travis?
All right, so I reached out to one of my homies, Akeem Hicks.
Yeah,
he reminded me. I don't know if a lot of people remember, but ferocious player.
Oh yeah,
Akeem
very
Hicks
good player.
Was man, the things I seen him do to O-linemen, that's who Trav remind me of. He remind me of that. He's coming along, he's growing into his body. Sometimes like when you're an athlete like Trav, like the physical aspect is there, but you have to learn to be a pro, right? You have to learn to be that player. And I think that's coming along extremely well, fast, and he's going to be something to look out for. He's going to be one of those players. Yeah.
So we were talking about your longevity. This is your 13th season, right?
Yeah.
And I think we looked this up. We did our research. You talked about your research on Connecticut. We also looked this up. The only defensive player in the league who is older than you, do you know who?
Calais Campbell.
There it is.
Bingo.
Another former Raven who had a few years here and had a lot of respect in this building. But Calais is the one guy older than you. So what does it mean to you to have the longevity that you've had over the course of your career?
He's not throwing shade.
No. Man, listen. I can't run from it, right? I can't run from it. Trust me.
We're older than you, so we got exactly.
I can't run from it. But it's a wow factor. Like sometimes, I reach out to their older guys, right, and just to see, like, man, you still going? like I was just with Cam Jordan, right before training camp. Yep. I'm like, because I was drafted to the Saints, and Cam, him and I, we have a brotherhood relationship, right? And I'm like, bro, you still going? He said, man, he called me J5. I'm not waving the white flag. My body feel good. I said, yeah, I feel good too.
Let's go.
Yeah. But it just overall, man, it's crazy to think about it. Because I remember my rookie year talking to Broderick Bunkley, and he was telling me, man, it's gonna go by quick. He was gonna go by quick, and here I am, year 13.
So what's been the key to your longevity, do you think?
Enjoying the process. Enjoying the process, especially for me, because bouncing around and having different, roles, right? Sometimes you may feel like the role doesn't fit you, or you want to take part in that role. So it's like, what is keeping me here? What is keeping me going? And I just say, I just enjoy the process. I feel like once I no longer enjoy, the preparation aspect of things, enjoying the building of relationships, the bonding, the great coaching staff, the locker room, then it's like, I don't really need it at this point anymore.
You'll be on the bike.
Yeah, I'm just like, I'm on the bike, Yeah.
Do you go through a process like at the end of a season and think like, all right, I'm just making sure I want to keep playing, or up to this point, have you always felt like, oh, I'm playing again next season, not sure, maybe where it's going to be, but what does that process look like, in deciding like, let's keep this thing going?
Sometimes it gets like that, man. I didn't think I will be here, to be honest with you. But I am. And it's like you get to the point where it's like how your body feel, right? Because think about it, everybody always asks you, how long you playing? How long you been playing? Going on year 13. How your body feel? Like they get all like scared, like they get nervous for you, like, oh, poor baby, how your body feel? And then like when the guys who do know football, and then like, oh, you a nose tackle? Like, bro, like, are you okay? Like, yeah, man. So, but sometimes I have those thoughts, but like when I start the preparation and the cycling is a big portion of it, right? It just, I still got it. Yeah. And then obviously if you sign to a team and a team doesn't cut you, then you still got it because they still want you here, right?
Good enough.
Yeah, right. So it's like, all right, cool. Now I need to work on getting better now, right? So, but that's how I go about it. Everybody's different.
What did you think when the Ravens called you?
Wow. I didn't know what to think at the time. I didn't even believe it at the time. I didn't know they had interest in me, to be honest with you. But I'm glad they did. And when I came here, and then I knew Zio when he came out 2014, right? And DJ, our D-line coach Dennis, I played against him when he was with LSU and I was in Georgia. We played in the SEC championship game together.
Funny.
Yeah, right. But Chuck Pagano, right, and Chuck Smith, I know Chuck Pagano. I was with him in 2020, so I already had a previous relationship with him. And Chuck Smith, I was working with him since I was training for the combine. So
a lot of connections.
Yeah, and Brett Erb, right. So I hit Erb up before I got Chicago, here, right. Rowe, I was with Rowe in Chicago. Right. So it was people who I already knew who I can, pretty much talk to once they showed their interest, and I came in and took the visit and got a chance to really sit down and be transparent, being able to talk to one another, and hey, here I am.
Well, so why did you think that you wouldn't be here? You said that earlier.
You just never know. And it was just like a team that I never thought had interest in me.
Gotcha. Yeah. Gotcha. And you talked about role being an important thing. What role that you're put into. Yeah. What is your role here in Baltimore?
I mean, I'll just, I call it the alleviation factor, right? We talked about our two guys, and I was just here like, hey, listen, man, hey, just tell them what I see, and hey, you need a couple plays. I got you, man. I got you. But it was pretty much, just whatever role the team and the organization needed me to be. That's what I was going to fulfill or do my best too.
Nice.
I want to go back to that visit that you mentioned when you came here and visited. Like, take me through that day. Like, did you feel like, all right, I'm going to sign here at the end of that day? And was there a moment that you were here that you felt like, okay, because this is home? Like some other guys have come here, like Jair Alexander is an example. He came here on a visit and said at the time wasn't sure if he was going to sign here or not, but then just felt like this is home. The vibe felt right.
Yeah.
So I'm curious for you, what was it on your visit that ultimately made you feel like this is a place I want to play?
Well, it was just pretty much seeing where everybody, their mind was at, and how serious they felt about me. Because like when we talk about getting up in age, right? So I've been in organizations where I've seen them bring in older guys and they become a body. So they have the organization is not truly invested in them, so they're just using them for the time being. And I felt like they was creating a purpose for me that will allow me to be able to, be an impact or somewhat have an identity on the team. I'm not just walking through the halls, right? Because I'm an older player, I'm an older person. I'm going to work hard just like any other man, but at the same time, you want to at least have a certain level of mutual respect, which I felt like that was the case when I came here. And, and then we talk about, hey, I'm going on year 13, like, how your body?
Right.
So it's like, man, how do I really feel? Because I also don't want to just sign and then be in a position where I'm not being true to myself,
right?
And I'm wasting my time, their time, and everybody else's time who was involved, right? So that's why, like, once I came here and we talked and we really, had those conversations. I'm like, man, listen, I'm here. Like, whatever you need me to do, I'm here.
That's great.
I'm interested in your perspective on how the game has changed. How has the position of playing defensive tackle changed over the years from when you first started? And what's changed about offensive lines and offensive guards and centers that you battle?
Man, me and Irv was just talking about this, like some of the older guys. I remember the first running back that I tackled was Steven Jackson. And
big
yeah. So that same year, I'm tackling Steven Jackson, right? Frank Gore when San Fran was doing the eye back, right? So when you talking about like those type of formation, and then you go into like we doing 5 wide and guys are like 200, 305 pounds, not the 370-pound old lineman.
Yeah.
That's a big change, a significant change, because now everybody is moving, efficient. Everybody's moving with with a different type of speed. So it requires you to no longer be the same, right? Yeah, I'm a bigger person, but it requires me just to move a little bit more too. So, I seen a game develop,
That's interesting.
Yeah. And do you have you ever gone up against Henry? Have you ever had to tackle Derrick Henry?
You know what? No.
Just practice, but you're not tackling him in practice.
Yeah,
of course.
the one time I was gonna play him, 21. Okay. I was with the Dolphins. I think it was 21, and I had COVID that game.
Okay.
We went up to Tennessee, and I didn't play that game.
Shoot.
Yeah.
No. I'm sorry.
Oh.
Last year.
It was last year?
Yeah, last year I was with the Raiders.
You
last
came here.
year. Yeah.
We don't talk about that game. You guys beat us that game.
Yeah, that's in the past,
do.
man. I'm a Raven. Yeah, I'm a Raven.
I'm blanking. I don't
remember what game you talking about.
Yeah, I forgot. Yeah. That's why it wasn't. Yeah.
I'm curious what your perspective is just on this franchise and how it's run, given that you've been Seahawks, like you said, Saints, Seahawks, Bears, Giants, Dolphins, Raiders.
Wow.
What?
I've been around America.
Again, a compliment. A lot of teams want you.
Yeah, man, yeah.
Just how do you see this franchise and how it operates compared to some of the other places that you've been?
Man, this franchise is class. It's a classy operation, man. Everybody has a lot of respect, man. It's a different level of respect. There's it's like a old school vibe, right? Like it's like a fine wine taste. If everybody knows their job. Everybody respect each other's job. Everybody hands on, from the supporting staff to the coaches, front office, even the owner. Like everybody, Mr. Bishotti, like everybody knows one another. They're hands-on with one another. They're willing to do whatever they need to do to be a part of the success of the organization. And, I mean, that's why y'all have the standard y'all have.
Last one for me, John, is as we look at this game on Sunday against the Texans. Obviously, it's a big game. How would you describe the sense of urgency that you feel from the team going into this matchup?
Man, we keeping the main thing. You know, everybody is doing everything they can to understand their position. Everybody, you know, you got guys in different roles, right? So, you know, and we got to catch up and we just prepare. We just taking day by day, you know, hour by hour, minute by minute.
That's awesome. Great. Well, next time I go out for a bike ride, I'm calling you up, John. Yeah. I'm going to come tuck in right behind you.
We'll see if you can keep up.
That's the only way I can keep up is if he's the lead dog.
He leads the way.
Man, it was fun, man. It was fun.
Awesome. Appreciate it. Yeah.
No doubt.
You're listening to the Lounge Podcast. We are coming to you from the SeatGeek studio. We want to give a shout out to our partners at DraftKings Sportsbook. They are an official sports betting partner of the Baltimore Ravens. DraftKings Sportsbook, the crown is yours. Well, thanks to John. I just don't think you'd be able to keep up with him on the bike.
Probably not. He's got a few pounds on me, but I think he'd still pull away.
Yeah, no doubt. So enjoyed talking with him and just getting to know him a little bit. And I think that, you know, a guy like him is somebody who he's got this long career. He plays not a sexy position, interior defensive line. So you don't just necessarily, he's not a guy you talk about a ton, just given the position that he plays. But then you get a chance to talk to him and know him a little bit. You're like, this guy's one of the nicest guys. He's got one of the biggest personalities on the team and one of the hardest workers. And he's from a football standpoint, he's playing a huge role for this team right now, especially in this game on Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, thank goodness the Ravens signed him, to be honest. You know, where would they be right now without John Jenkins, given the injuries on the defensive line? It's really, really important. And I think he's also a good mentor to some of these young guys. You know, we didn't talk about Aeneas Peoples, but I know that he's kind of coaching him up and been talking with him. So I just think, a classic good Ravens veteran signing. You know, the Ravens have shown their aptitude for bringing in these older veterans who still have something to prove and still have more gas left in the tank. And John's another example of that. And honestly, you know, for the Ravens defense that needs to turn things around a little bit, he's going to be a key part of that run defense.
Yeah. So let's talk about the game on Sunday against the Houston Texans, 1:00, M&T Bank Stadium. A lot of questions going into this one on the injury front for the Ravens. Of course, Lamar Jackson being the main one. We're recording this Thursday afternoon, and as of this point, he's not practiced at all this week. The latest is a report from Josina Anderson, who said that he's not going to be back until after the bye. The Ravens play the Texans this week, play the Rams next week. Then it's the bye, and after that, it's Chicago. So 2 games here before the bye week, and certainly trending, it looks like, in the direction of him not playing against the Texans, given that he hasn't practiced this week. And again, that's the latest report from Josina Anderson. But it's not just Lamar. A number of other players look like they could be out for this game. Marlon Humphrey, Roquan Smith at the top of the list there on the defensive side of the ball. Nate Wiggins did return to practice today, so that was really big for this team to get him back. Kyle Van Noy has been practicing this week, as well as Travis Jones, who you mentioned.
Kyle Hamilton did not practice on Thursday, so that's a big possible, we'll see if he's able to play.
Yeah, he pops up on the injury report with a groin injury on Wednesday as a limited participant. And then does not practice on Thursday. So that's a situation that certainly bears watching going into the weekend. Is probably the best player on this defense. And then on the offensive side of the ball, Ronnie Stanley did come back to practice on Thursday. So, last week he practiced a little bit, tried to play in the game against the Chiefs, wasn't really able to stay in there. So we'll see if he's able to play at all in a limited capacity in this game against Houston. So that's just kind of your injury rundown on where things stand right now.
That took about 5 minutes for you to get through the injury report here.
I know. It's long, and the Ravens are in a tough spot. They're going to have a lot of guys who are stepping into important roles for this team. So how do you think the Ravens, just at a big picture level, handle all the injuries that they're dealing with right now?
Well, defensively, I think you just have to rely on some of these backups to play at a high level. I mean, we'll see about Kyle Hamilton. If he doesn't play, then Sanusi Kane gets his first start of his career as a second-year player, 7th-round pick, who I thought had a pretty good summer in training camp, but he doesn't have the versatility, certainly, of Kyle Hamilton. Yeah. I think he's a good player. Heck, Geno Stone was a 7th-round pick. He turned out to be a pretty good safety for the Ravens.
Yeah.
And so Sanusi Kane would get his shot next to Malachi Starks. Then you look at cornerback. If Marlon Humphrey's not able to play, then at Cheeto Awuzie, I think we missed him on the exactly. He's dealing with a hamstring. And so, if he's not able to play, now you're down 2 corners, and that's assuming Wiggins is able to play. So, you're looking at Keon Martin, an undrafted rookie out of Louisiana Lafayette, who's potentially starting at nickel in place of Marlon. And then on the outside, TJ Tampa or the return of Jair Alexander, who hasn't played since week 1. So, you're just, and then we got done talking about the defensive line, all the injuries there. Inside linebacker, you're down Roquan Smith. Did we forget him on the injury report too? We got hit. Okay, we got Roquan.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're looking at Jake Hummel,
Teddy Buchanan, who's already been playing a lot, and Trenton Simpson as well.
Exactly. Who you also have, who's wearing the green dot? Who's doing the defensive relaying the calls?
Yeah.
If Kyle's not out there, Roquan's not out there.
Right. Is it Teddy Buchanan?
Right.
Is it Malachi? Is it Malachi Starks?
Exactly. That's another question. So, I think that you're just going to need a lot of guys who don't have a whole lot of starting experience or haven't been playing a lot of ball. Jair Alexander hasn't played since week 1. You need him to step up, or Tampa, who's getting his first career start. So it's just a lot of question marks, but guys who kind of like John Jenkins said, eager young dudes looking to prove themselves in this league.
I think just like the way I look at the injury situation is that really on both sides of the ball, because on the offensive side, you're looking like you're going to be down your quarterback, maybe the best player in the league, and so that means Cooper Rush making his first start as a Raven.
I think the answer offensively is easier. Here it is. You ready? Hand the ball off to Derrick Henry. Are we going left or are we going right? Which way are we going here?
I think there's truth to that, but I think that just like overall, I think that like there's kind of a sense of like, and a couple of guys talked about this over the course of the week. It's like, do your job. It's like the old Patriots saying, do your job, do your 111th.
Thanks, Bill.
And don't try to do too much, because there's a lot on everyone's plate here. Especially you got a bunch of new starters on defense if these guys are out, young players. Like, don't try to take on the world. Just worry about your responsibility in doing that right. Play within the framework of the offense and the defense, and like just start there. And trust the system. Trust that you're going to be in the right position to make the play, and then make the play when it comes to you. And like that sounds very simplistic, but I think that where the Ravens could get out of whack is if you have guys that like are in wrong position, or they're trying to make a play and there's poor communication, and they just get in the wrong place at the wrong time, and that's how you get exposed, especially if you have a bunch of young guys on defense. Yeah,
I agree. I think it's kind of to the fundamentals. Do what you need to do, and we'll be all right. The Ravens trust their scheme. They trust, and they, I think, still have a very talented roster, even with these guys missing, quite frankly, especially on the offensive side of the ball. You still look at all the playmakers that they have: Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman, Derrick Henry in the backfield. The O-line is healthy. You still have a lot of playmakers, DeAndre Hopkins. And so, like, if all of those players kind of play within the framework of the scheme and the game plan, I think that the Ravens can still have a lot of success. The Texans are a 1-3 team too, who are going through their own struggles.
Yeah.
Not quite as rampant on the injury front as the Ravens struggles, but they're trying to find themselves just like the Ravens are to a degree.
Yeah.
And so I think that the Ravens are still very capable of doing this. To my point offensively, if you have Cooper Rush starting at quarterback, here's a quarterback that's 9-5 as a starter. He's got a lot of experience. Like, Cooper Rush can manage the offense. He can run the offense. And that's really what you want. You want somebody to just operate it, pull the right levers, pull them on time, don't make mistakes, don't turn the ball over, get the ball in the hands of your playmakers and let them do most of the work. That's the game plan for me offensively. And a lot of that, to be honest, is the run game. The Ravens and Todd Monken made it very clear today they want to run the ball more. Point blank. Haven't run it enough. It's, Todd Monken has asked, how do you fix the run game? Well, it starts with calling it more.
Yeah.
Right. And so to me, perfect game to do so. You don't have Lamar Jackson. Let's go back to the roots a little bit here. Establish ourselves physically. There's a lot of pundits out there talking about Baltimore's toughness and identity and all that stuff. All right. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll show you. Right. We'll run that ball at Derrick Henry 25, 30 times, sprinkle in some other guys there too, and we'll see how physical we are.
Well, Derrick Henry, he is no stranger to being the featured guy in an offense. And when he came here to Baltimore, like he kind of moved into an offense that was Lamar's offense, and he's the featured guy. That was the first point really in a long time, probably going back to his college days, where like you had all these other playmakers. But when he was in Tennessee, it was like, okay, everyone went into that game knowing like Derrick Henry's the guy, try to stop him. And it has, I mean, there's still an element of that, certainly, been hit through his first year and a half here, but it's more widespread here. And now I think that the Derrick Henry conversation is only increases. And I think that, like, so my point is he can handle this. Yeah. He's ready for this workload, the responsibility, guys keying on him. Like, all of that stuff are things that he is very well accustomed to.
We haven't talked to Derrick yet this week, but I would bet you that, especially considering his tough starts of the year and the fumbles and all that stuff. Now, Ravens' backs are against the wall. You're in kind of a air quotes must-win game. Mm-hmm. So I think he would probably welcome the opportunity to be the guy and say, "Hey, Derrick, we need you to run us to a victory here, bud." All right. Yeah. I've kind of been at the in the eye of the storm in terms of the Ravens' losses so far this year. You need me to deliver you a win. I'm the right guy for the job.
I agree with all of that. I also think that it is worth noting, like, the Ravens still have playmakers beyond Derrick Henry, of course, and I think that, like, there's gonna get the ball out of their hands, quickly, and like get Zay Flowers the ball.
You're right. You want to put Cooper Rush and advantageous down and distances, and that starts with calling more runs on first and second down, and they have to be successful runs. Just because you call runs doesn't mean that you're picking up huge yardage. Right. Like the Ravens' run game has been pretty efficient and good, but like you need to run the ball at a high level. And then you need to, of course, you're going to throw it some, and Cooper Rush, I think, needs to be in advantageous situations because the Texans have two very good pass rushers, Will Anderson Jr. and Danielle Hunter, who have combined for 7 sacks through 4 games so far. One of the best duos in the league. You do not want them teeing off on 3rd and 10, especially with Ronnie Stanley dealing with his injury. And Cooper Rush in the backfield, who's not going to make as many guys miss and extend plays and make plays like Lamar Jackson is. That just ain't his game. Yeah. You want him to be able to 3-step drop, 5-step drop, read, get that ball out. Advantageous positions. Get the ball in the hands of the playmakers. Yeah. That's what you want the game plan to be for Cooper Rush.
I also wonder, I don't know how big of a factor this would be. Someone that fans have asked about a lot is Keaton Mitchell. He's been a healthy scratch throughout the season. Could he be back in the mix in this game?
I think everybody that's healthy could be in the mix for this game. So it would not surprise me if Keaton Mitchell is active against the Texans. And I think once he's active, I think that the Ravens will try to find a little bit of an offensive role for him. It's not going to be extensive like I just got done saying. I think Derrick Henry is going to be the featured guy. Justice Hill, coming off a 2-touchdown game, he's going to continue to play his role in this offense, which is an important role. But can you sprinkle in 3-5 touches for Keaton Mitchell, a little bit of offensive action while he's active? I'd be interested.
Yeah, I also think that part of that goes back to something we've spent a lot of time talking about this week is the number of plays on offense. Like if you only have 50 plays on offense, that there's just fewer opportunities for all of them. But if you have all of a sudden you got 75 plays on offense, I'm just throwing out a number. Yeah. But if and I do think that, like, just big picture wise, there probably is, like, this seems like more of a game that could this be a 17-13 type of a game where the Ravens have played more of these high scoring affairs to start the season?
I don't know. That could go either way.
But if it's more of a run heavy game,
if the Ravens defense holds them to 13 points, it's a successful day for this banged up defense considering the injuries. I'll say that much.
That is true. I totally agree with that. But I just think if the Ravens are able to run the ball the way that we're talking about and the way that they want to, that can shorten the game, that can extend drives, that can keep the Texans offense off the field.
Yep.
And that can get you into a situation where it's a lower scoring game compared to, the high-scoring affairs that we've seen so far this season.
Sure, yeah. I don't think it's going to be as pass-happy as what we've seen so far this season. I think it's going to be a little more grinded-out, old-school football. And, like, to me, this is a Baltimore identity football game. Like I said earlier, a lot of people kind of questioning, who are the Ravens at this point? You just don't see the Ravens get beat the way they have the past 2 weeks. You just haven't seen that, right, with the Lions and the Chiefs. And, like, I think that there is a little bit of a point to prove for this Ravens team. And quite frankly, like, after everybody sung the Ravens' praises all offseason, and they're Super Bowl favorites, and they're the most often picked team to win the Super Bowl and best roster in the league. Like, being back a little bit in the underdog role, and nobody thinks we're any good anymore, and everybody thinks we stink now, and all right. I'm comfortable in that role too.
Yeah.
The Ravens are well accustomed to that role, and like, I'm interested in seeing how they respond to that. I think it's going to be positive.
Yeah, it's an important game. Obviously, as the Ravens are sitting here at this point of the season, 1-3. Obviously, 2 games to go until the bye week, as we mentioned. So it's an important game for this team as they look to get back on track. As always, you can email us at the lounge at ravens.nfl.net. If you're listening, make sure you hit that subscribe button wherever you're listening to your podcast, Apple, Spotify, wherever it is. And also, if you're watching, go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. Thank you so much for listening and watching, and we will be back with you again after that game on Sunday.